Hi, everybody, and welcome to Heidi Inspired Radio, supporting you and living a more confident life. So the purpose of Heidi Inspired Radio is to bring you topics of interest, personal topics, professional topics, to basically help you live your best life. And I'm so excited that you are here tonight. It's about time. That's tonight's topic, time management. And that may not sound very exciting. However, how many times during the day do you find yourself saying, where did the time go? I don't have time. I really want to live my big dreams. I really want to reach my goals, but I don't have time. I really want to exercise. I don't have time. When do you find yourself saying that? How much of that is real? How much of that is an excuse? So we have a juicy program for you today, and I'm excited that you're here. So please pipe in and tell us you're here. Say hello on social media. Tell us where you're calling in from. Also, please ask questions. Write down, share with us what some of your time management issues are, or what I like to say, some of your time robbers. So on our show tonight, of course, we have my wonderful husband, my technician, the wind beneath my wings, Phil Kerner, and you're going to be hearing a little bit about him because he's going to pipe in what his thoughts on time management. And what I'm excited about this program is I love bringing you experts. So I am searching for experts, people who this is their specialty, so that you can get some new nuggets on the topic at hand. And tonight we're going to have with us a little bit later expert Lisa Malice. Lisa Malice is actually a time management expert. She's a coach specializing in that topic. And she's a speaker. She's a consultant, and she's wonderful. She's also the president of NABO. And if you don't know what NABO is National Association of Women-Owned Businesses right here in Cleveland. And I met her about 6 months ago through social media. We'll talk more about her and her bio and her nuggets a little bit later. But I always have to start out still being the seminar leader. And I want to share with you a few of my nuggets that I have found over the years that have really helped me as an entrepreneur with time management for 30 years, and what I have shared with my entrepreneurs and my corporate clients. Because the truth is, time management is a topic that I go into universities, corporations, and work with my women entrepreneurs on. And I want to share with you my nuggets. Now, it's interesting. When Lisa and I had a conversation the other day, I do tend to bring, because my background is as a psychotherapist, a little bit more of the psychology. And that's what's going to be fun tonight, because I bring in a little bit of the psychology and she brings in hardcore strategy. So you're going to get lots of good information. So take out your notebook and take some notes. Now, one of my first nuggets as an entrepreneur, and I know this is a tough one, and I know that you're out there right now. Why I feel passionate about this, because I'm with my women entrepreneurs every day. And what I hear oftentimes is, oh, I decided to sleep in today, so I didn't get the work or the follow-up done. Or, there was wash that needed to be done. There wasn't a structure in place. So one of my special time management nuggets that I love is a little bit of discipline. Now, believe me, there's not all areas of my life that I'm disciplined. I'm certainly not perfect. But I do come from corporate. So I look at my job as an entrepreneur. The time integrity is what I call it, is very important to me. And I am at my desk every morning at 8 a.m., no matter what. I treat it like a job. I work out of the house. I've been working out of the house for 30 years. I don't look at this as, well, in the middle of the day, I don't consider doing laundry, cleaning the house, watching TV. I'm working. So one nugget that I love to go by is just that structure and playing the time game. I tell my clients all the time when they resist time, time's your friend. Make it fun. Make it a game. So I'm at my desk. You can test me on this. I may not always look perfect. I may not have my lipstick on, but I'm at my desk at 8 in the morning. That discipline and that structure is something that's really served me. Now, secondly, I'm a little embarrassed because it's a little old school, but I've learned this along the way. I had issues with clutter, taking care of paperwork, again, not finding the time to get those things done. So what I learned through many classes in Los Angeles and the Fly Lady, have you heard of the Fly Lady before? The Fly Lady is wonderful online, and she talks about time management, but she uses a little device. Now, why I'm embarrassed, I do have a timer on my phone, and I'm sure many of you that are techie can figure out wonderful ways of time management, but there's something very old school. I'm showing my husband because he's like, oh, there's that timer again. I love touching my old school timer. Now, what do I use this for? Basically everything. I have been accused of taking this to the beach and timing how long I'm laying out. I time myself if I meditate. I can get a little OCD with the time management stuff here. That's why I love it. I've been known to time my baths. But what it does, it gives me that structure to know that I can finally let go and relax. How many of you, like me, we're busy professionals. We have so much going on that we are multitasking all the time. The most important piece, though, that I have learned with my old-fashioned timer is when you're doing a task that you don't want to do, you time it. And it's amazing when you give yourself just a few minutes, like 15 minutes. 15 minutes, I'm going to make those follow-up calls. 15 minutes, I'm going to work on that proposal for my corporation. 15 minutes, I'm going to tackle that one drawer. There's a beginning and an end. The timer is your friend. Because again, how are you going to get your tasks done? So lastly, one of my pet peeves is being on time. I'm a stickler about being on time, not just on time, to be someplace early. Because when I teach and when I go to networking events, I don't want to run in late because I know people are making impressions about me. I like to be there on time. So I do have a pet peeve about people who are constantly late. Now this is fun. I can't wait to hear Lisa's opinion. She and I, we talked about this a little bit the other day because she's going to share with you about poor planning. I get into the psychological thing. Like, why you're sabotaging yourself. Why is it that you are late and giving off a poor impression? I'm gonna share a little story about this, and then we'll take a break and we'll have Phil Kerner give you a few tidbits of his experience with time management. So one of my dear friends was constantly late, like late, not like 10 minutes late, not running late, like an hour late. And this went on for years. And what would happen is we would be at an event and we'd be waiting for my friend. And when she would walk in the room, everybody would be angry with her because she kept us waiting. And one day I took her aside and I said, why is it that every time you walk into the room, you want people, they're angry at you, and then you come up with excuses, but you never feel good about yourself? Why are you doing that behavior to yourself? And you know what? That was something that sunk in. I go, what would it feel like for you to walk into a room and everyone sees you and they're excited to see you and they're happy to see you, instead of why are you setting yourself up? Now, that's my psychological nugget. And that happened to work for her, because I have to say it, if she's listening, you can pipe in, that she is always on time, if not earlier than myself when we have our little coffee dates. So those are my nuggets for right now. I have a lot more. We have time robbers. I have my time robbers. Like I said, we're not perfect, but let's just have a conversation about time management. Let's shine a light on some of our areas, some of our excuses, and let's hear from the guy from Erie, Phil Kerner, after break. And then after that, we'll hear from Lisa some strategies and mistakes she finds most entrepreneurs get into trouble with about being productive. We'll see you in a minute.
Life is about changes. The home that was so perfect yesterday suddenly seems too big, and the thought of moving may seem overwhelming. Perhaps your parents are still in the family home, but need help downsizing, and you live across the country. Or worse yet, a loved one has passed on, and you are faced with clearing out the estate and prepping the house for sale. Simple Solutions for Living, a locally owned and operated business in Erie, Pennsylvania, is here to help make the transition to a different living situation. We handle it all, from beginning to end, with hands-on help. So all you have to do is walk in the door of your new home and enjoy. Contact Senior Move Manager Marion Taylor at Simple Solutions for Living to schedule a WOW consultation to work on whatever it takes to get the job done. Call 814-449-5309 or visit simplesolutionsforliving.com.
Got to turn it back on. Hi, everybody. And again, if you're on social media, we want your questions. We want your time robbers. So please jump in. We'll be checking those in the questions. So I am here with Phil Kerner, my handsome husband. And I just like to get your opinion. We have not practiced this, so we need to be careful. I don't know what he's going to be sharing tonight. And of course, I like to say I trained him in some time management pieces. So tell us a little bit. I was going to give you the mic, but you have your own. Okay.
Well, no,
We're sharing the mic.
We're going to share the mic.
Okay.
I know you hate doing that.
I know.
Well, first of all, I will say, watching you for 15 years, Heidi does practice what she preaches, and I can see the challenge of working out of the house because there are so many distractions. Just the neighbors, just the things that happen at the house, the phone calls, the TV's always there. Oh, Facebook, somebody posted a funny video. I mean, I'm lucky because my job keeps me focused all day, so I don't have that issue. And when I did own my own business, a shop, there was plenty to do all day. I mean, that's
plus
the
you
first
went
thing.
You went someplace.
I left the house.
You left the house.
So that's a big difference. And I know one of the things Heidi does a lot, and you do a lot, is working with entrepreneurs. And I can't tell you how disciplined she really is every day. And especially if I have a day off, it doesn't matter. If I want to sleep in a little bit, she's at that computer. The phone's ringing. She's making the calls. She's setting the appointments. She's very, very time-oriented. And where's that clock at?
That's my timer.
The timer.
To be careful of it, because I know sometimes you want to throw it away.
The timer.
I love my timer.
The timer. And she's not kidding. We'll be at the beach.
I know.
And I'll hear the timer go off, and she turns over. Not kidding.
It gives me safety.
Oh,
you know what? This is my thing. It gives me structure, and I wish I had structure in other areas of my life. Okay, time management I've got down in certain areas.
But one of the biggest things you taught me, I was never a habitually hour late person, but I was always the 2-minute late guy. And what a bunch of adrenaline, right?
Yes.
Racing across town, mad at all the red lights because they're not going your way. Why is that person in front of you going so slow? That old person, but then that was a long time ago. That would probably be me now. And you don't have to do that. So I've learned to be 10 minutes early for everything. It's not that hard. It's a little bit of an organizational thing. Set your thing. Your timer for the day. Not your timer, but you have to be someplace at 4, and it takes a half an hour to get there. Leave at 20 after 3.
And you've always mentioned them to feel so stress-free.
Yeah.
To be there, to relax, go to the restroom, whatever you need to do before an event or whatever.
It was a great habit to get into.
Yes.
And once I got into it, it's a big de-stressor.
You were trainable in that area anyway.
In that area, I was trainable. Thank you for that.
All right, so that's good.
Am I done here now?
Yes, thank you. You can go now. Thank you.
Back to my corner.
I just wanted your little input. But again, bigger than some of the things we're talking about, our priorities and what are the mistakes that we make and what are the time robbers. So even thinking about that, and before Lisa gets on, go ahead and be vulnerable. Share what are your time robbers. I know for me, as for many of you, Facebook can be tricky because on the one hand, that's 80% of my business is on Facebook. So it can get very, mixing business with pleasure, but checking in with the women I'm working with or seeing some of their events, supporting them, giving them a wow. But I have, again, in my head, the psychology piece, little nuggets. I know for me, it's kind of like if I'm looking at maybe an old roommate from Los Angeles's neighbor's cat, then I'm like, I'm going a little too far. Like, that's my radar to say, Heidi, what am I avoiding? What do I not want to do? What's my excuse? So I've got my notepad out. I'm excited to hear from Lisa, and I think we'll take one more break while we get Lisa on the phone. She's calling in from Cleveland, and I'm excited to hear some of her nuggets to share with us. So one more commercial and we'll be right back. Are you struggling to get new clients? Excited about your business yet feel stuck as to what direction you need to take next? Are you one of those people who are afraid to pick up that phone or ask for that sale? Or maybe you know you need to be doing some networking or public speaking, but you're just not doing it? You're not alone. As a marketing consultant, former psychotherapist, certified professional career coach, and seminar leader, I have been empowering women for over 30 years and helping them build their successful business. I offer the tools, support, and accountability, which helps my clients create a positive professional image with the confidence they need to take their business to the next level. If you're interested in becoming more confident in your business, increasing your client base, please like us on Facebook, Heidi Inspired. Develop your ability to go higher. We're just checking. Thank you. We're checking our technology here. She is on Facebook, if you didn't hear that, and she has wonderful videos, short videos on priorities. Should you delegate? How can you be a better leader? How can you find more time in your day? How can you not try to play catch up on the weekends? So again, she's a time management coach, she's an author, she's a speaker and a consultant, and most importantly, I really want you to hear, she, like myself, runs and is the president of NABO, which is the National Association of Women-Owned Business Owners, right here in Cleveland, and I've been to those meetings before. So for those of you that are in Erie, I'm ready for a road trip to go see Lisa speak, and again, collaborate and do some networking. So, Lisa, are you on the line with us?
I am, and I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited you're here too. So please help us. Where does the time go? So I thought we could just start with, share with us a little bit about your background, your story, what's time management. So just give us a little bit of your background and who you are and how you chose this field, actually.
Absolutely. So I chose this field by accident, as I think many of our origin stories begin that way. I was actually in high school education and left to my own devices will work absolutely from the moment I wake up until I go to bed at night. And that is not a healthy way to live. And so I hit a wall with my health and realized I need to figure out a different way to work. And I needed a different career. And I wasn't really sure what it was because it was one of those things, and you know this, Heidi, like sometimes you can be so good at something, but it doesn't mean that's what you're meant to do.
Right.
Right? And I was so good at my job in education, but I didn't love it. And so
that all makes sense now, this whole teacher part of you. I love it.
Right? I know. It is one of those things you start to realize that everything you've done up into your life up until now is leading to this one career. You just can't see it while you're in there. Mm-hmm. And so while I was trying to regain my health and figure out what was I going to do next, a lot of people in my life kept asking me to help them do similar projects. And they were all around time. And it honestly, you had to hit me over the head because I didn't even know there was such a thing as a coach. That's not an athletic coach or a field, right? And, and I have multiple degrees. And so I felt like I needed a piece of paper to say who I was, like I needed that legitimacy in my mind. And through the process, I started to figure out, again, look to my own devices. If I'm running my own business, I will literally work myself to death. Okay. And so I had to figure out, how do I add the structure into my life so that I can run a business? And I am not the only one in the world who's faced with this problem. now I can go and help people who are running their own businesses add the structure to their life, whether it's because they work too much or, like you were sharing earlier, work too little, whatever
Right.
way that may be.
Right. So some people, yeah, they use that as an excuse or they're overworked. So that's interesting. And I don't know if I remember that part of your story. And doesn't it takes us to our knees when there's some sort of crisis and health situation. But I love the work that you're doing. And I was wanting people to definitely follow you on Facebook because I love your little videos. And she's always very vulnerable. And when she's networking, she's also talking about what it's like behind the scenes. So I love all of that. But let's get into, I'm really excited to hear what you perceive with your background as the biggest mistakes that you see entrepreneurs make when they're trying to be more productive. So tell us a little bit about that. Let's jump right into it.
I think a lot of times entrepreneurs will equate busyness with business. And so they think as long as their butts in the seat and they're doing something, then they're working on their business. And in reality, many times they're working in their business, not on their business. And so they're acting as if they are an employee versus the employer, or they're not holding the vision because they're the visionary for their business. Instead, they're in the weeds and they're in the day-to-day, and they just keep going and going and going and going. And related to that is that idea of, I own my own business to do everything myself. And I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a solopreneur. The buck stops with me and I have to do everything. And that limits you. And we all have 168 hours in the week. Some of those we need to sleep and shower.
Right.
And so at some point you actually will run out of time.
Okay.
When you've decided everything has to be you and you're only working in the business and not looking at the big picture. So that's one of the mistakes that I see.
Okay.
Another one I see is that going back to what you guys were talking about, you and Phil were talking about with being late places.
Yes.
They try to solve the problem or what they perceive as the problem without digging into what's behind it. Whether it is, like you said, a psychological thing, or whether it is a structural thing. They don't look further down. They just think many times, oh, if I have the perfect app or the right calendar. I don't know how many times my clients will be like, well, I switched my calendar again, and that's really going to help me be on time. No, it's not. It's totally not.
Oh, that's a good one. That's always will fix it. In the beginning of the year, that's like going to Office Depot and getting new calendars. That's what will fix the problem. I love
That's
it. That's
going to fix everything.
That's the Band-Aid. Okay, good.
Right. Or they'll come in and they'll say, oh, and again, when's the best time to pick up a time management book? Oh, right around December, end of December. Because, I'm going to read a book and it'll cure it all. When in all reality, everyone is different. We're all carrying around different baggage. We're all carrying around different preferences. I look at your timer and I think, oh my gosh, I love the timer. But I use the timer differently. I use it to disengage, not to engage. So if I'm on Facebook, I set the timer to get out of Facebook because I know that it can be a black hole for me.
Yes.
And so I'll set the timer across the room. And it's loud and obnoxious so that I'm not tempted to just turn it off and just do one more thing.
Oh, good. I love that you physically have to get up and move. All right. See?
Right? Because when that timer goes off, how easy it's like hitting snooze in the morning. It's so easy to be like, oh, it's just a couple more minutes. And, 45 minutes later, you're like, oh, look at me. I'm still looking at my roommate's friend's mom's cat.
Oh my gosh.
So everyone's the point of that is everyone's different.
Yes.
We all carry around different stuff. We all have our brains all work differently. And so it isn't the app that's going to fix it. It's understanding what is it that needs fixed first.
Okay.
And then the third thing I see is that people will say, I just need to try harder. I just need to be more disciplined.
Right.
I just need to have more willpower. I just need to focus more. And all of those things, again, are a surface. Willpower is like a battery. When it's depleted, it's depleted. And telling yourself to try harder isn't going to fill it back up again. Like you have to be able to build in different structures and different things into your day to refill your willpower battery. Like you said, you get up and you're in your office 8 a.m. all the time. You know, for some of my clients who work from home, they leave, drive around their block, and come back in their front door as if they're entering their office.
I used to do that when I lived in Los Angeles because, of course, I'm obsessed here that there isn't a Starbucks by me. And I would get up in the dark, and that's exactly what I would do in my apartment is get up, go out, and get my Starbucks that was a block away, and within those 10 minutes I'd be back home. And exactly. So I love that I wasn't alone with that. I thought that was my own little tip, but I love that. That's a good tip right there.
Yeah. And so for when we're looking at that idea of being more disciplined in trying harder and working harder, like there's that whole myth of, well, if I work harder, I will succeed. No, if you work right,
okay,
you will succeed. And then what is right for you? You know, and maybe it's going around grabbing your Starbucks and coming in. Maybe it's starting your day at 10 a.m. Maybe it's not talking to people until noon. Like, it's different for everyone. And then it's a matter of how do you make it so you want to follow it and it's easy to follow,
right,
instead of forcing yourself into the mold. One of the big time management strategies or philosophies is 5 a.m. To be a success, you need to be, you know, working when no one else is. 5 a.m. is your magic hour. I tell you what, you're getting nothing from me at 5 a.m. Like it is, whatever it is bad.
Oh, okay. So I love that what you're saying, customizing, but how do people who are listening, how do we figure out what our time management, of course, the psychologist, wants to say, what's our time management personality? How do we figure that out? Do you have a secret sauce for that or something to look at, or what do you suggest?
Yes. Well, one of the things is building awareness and just knowing here are areas I'm really strong in. Here are areas that I'm not as great in. And so I actually have, and you can put these in your show notes, but I have a 10-question quiz that allows you to slow down for 2 whole minutes and think, is this something that I'm good at? And it's a bit.ly link. So it's bit.ly/how busy quiz,
Okay.
all lowercase. And so that is one of the best first steps, is just to start to figure out what are the different areas, like what are things I should be looking for. Often I find clients are amazed that they're stronger in areas they didn't even think about. And then it helps also, that whole I don't know what I don't know.
Right.
This helps shed light on what you don't know, you don't know.
Well, I'm also just, again, fixated on what you said, like, we'll get that book. There's all these books, the 5 work, take Fridays off, or the 5-day work week. Or, there's all these situations that we buy because it's like, what's the secret nugget? Not to say all those books will give us 1 or 2 nuggets. And I know that I see a lot of your posts and things that you talk about is how can we reduce our work week by 10 hours? How can we find the quote unquote time more for ourselves or for bigger projects? It gets into balancing. So do you have some solutions on how to do that?
Absolutely. When I start working with a new client and we're start digging into what's their unique formula, what's their unique blueprint, there are 3 areas that I hit first, because those are typically where we can get the most time back. And so one of those areas is zone of genius, which is, what is it that you do in your business that only you can do? What's your secret sauce, your special thing? And then how can we start to make a plan to start moving out the rest of it? And it's not all at once. But if you're doing the things that only you can do, your business is successful. Mm-hmm. It's when you start putting your hands in stuff that someone else could do for you at a much lower rate of pay than what you make yourself, that your business starts to increase exponentially. So that's one of the ways.
Okay.
The second, and the other thing about delegating, before I move on to the second
Yes.
step or the second thing, is delegating is a skill. And not many people get that. Like, a lot of people think it's magic. Like, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And, and I hear a lot, why would I want to delegate? I can just do it quicker myself, or easier myself, or better myself, or I delegate it to someone else and it comes back and is wrong. And why would I pay someone to do something and it come back wrong?
Right. I'm right there with you as an entrepreneur myself, and I hear from the people all the time. So let's, if we could just even shine a light on the delegation piece. And that's totally like the psychology of like, you know what, I've tried to delegate. It's harder to do it. I'm wasting too much time. So yeah, do you have any, while we're on the delegation, the tidbits of how to do it right? Because I think many of us that are entrepreneurs also can be a bit controlling, that we can only do it better ourselves, and then push that away, even though we know that we should be. And for me, it's that balancing act. Like, I know to grow my business, I have to delegate, but I don't always have the right people or team around to take me to the next level. So it's this constant battle.
So one of the things to remember is that it's a skill, which means there's steps.
Okay.
And anyone who wants, I'm happy to send the steps. This isn't anything I know that we had thought about ahead of time until just this moment.
Right.
This is live, folks.
I know. I want the chat. Please coach me, Lisa. Help me. Help me with the steps, please.
But there really are 8 steps in delegating, and we won't go through all 8 of those now.
Okay.
But just some of the pieces are that you need to recognize where your person that you're delegating to is on a level. Meaning, from one end of, I have to literally hold their hand all the way through this project, to the other end of, I can just give them the broad strokes of what I want to see happen, and they can run with it. And you need to identify that before you start the process. If you think they're one place and you think they're somewhere else, that's where a lot of the miscommunication occurs. And so delegating is about communicating directly and effectively. And so one of those areas is just figuring out, where are they? And then behaving appropriately. And it doesn't mean the same person is always at the same spot on that continuum. It just means that you recognize where they are and you're doing everything in your power to up their skill level and build them up to move them as high as they possibly can on that list, because the higher they are, the less oversight you need to have. But always start lower than what you think. So that's one of the pieces. Yeah,
there's a comment from somebody on social media.
It's actually a question.
A question. So let's Phil's going to pipe in with the question.
Okay, this is from Janet.
Okay.
And I think we're talking about the delegation here.
Yes.
And her thing is, it's tough to take that leap. Sometimes people want you when they do business with you.
Oh, that's
and it's a classic entrepreneurial thing, right? We get used to that person, and that's who the person is we always deal with. And I think what she's saying is it's hard to sometimes delegate some of that stuff out when you're the star, kind of, right?
Right, and let's just go with that for a second, because Janet is the star. So Janet is, we call her here in Erie, she's one of my Coffee Club Divas in my networking group, the Scarf Lady, tie one on, and she has clothing, and she's got a fabulous personality, big personality, loving, and I know that she's been wanting to grow her business and have kind of scarf people work under her. So that's a good question, Lisa, when people want us, our personality, and how do you delegate that, and how do you get, is that the question, how to get somebody else, to kind of pass them on or delegate?
Well, she says,
how do you make that transition to get people to want to do business with someone else?
Okay.
Right. And so as a coach, what would you say, Heidi?
Well, I know I was going to say that's a very good I would basically, my whole thing as a coach, thank you, Lisa, for putting this back on me, sister. So as a coach, though, I would say, first of all, I like to keep clients that I've worked with, and stay with them. But for new clients coming in, basically setting a boundary and saying, you know what, because I'm so busy right now, but I have trained Susie Q, I guarantee you, with her background and her training, you're going to absolutely love her. So I'm going to make sure that she does a good job for you. So I kind of, again, coach she and celebrate. And I've done that. And I've had good experience with this, Lisa, even with speakers, and say I couldn't do a speaking engagement and they were all attached to me. And I said, you know what? Let me refer you to Lisa or somebody else. At first, there's a little bit of a pushback. And I think for me, we have to not be attached to our boundaries and to say, you know what, it's okay to let go and to encourage them to use somebody else. And I have found them to be happy with it. So sometimes we have to, yeah. So, I mean, that's my take on it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's, and what you're talking about there is a piece of business and a piece of delegating. Because as long as she has been able to build the skill up of the person she's delegating to, it's okay. And there's a bazillion ways to massage that. You can say, if you want to work with me, that's great. Currently I have a VIP waiting list, and, it can, 4 months. However, my, so-and-so is able to see you within 2 weeks.
That's a good boundary.
So there's that. There's a difference in pricing. If you're working with me, it's $1 bazillion. If you're working with someone else, it's just 1 million. You choose how you want to work that. But if you're being limited because it's just you working with your clients, then obvious next step is to bring in people, replicate you as much as you can. And even if you're the face of the business, you still can replicate you.
Okay, good. Another question.
Okay, this one's from me.
Okay, good. From Phil Kerner.
All right. So, a lot of people that are entrepreneurs work by themselves all day, all right, for whatever reason. How do you know if you've got a time management problem? What are the symptoms?
Ooh, that's good.
Good one.
Good one, guy from
Good
Erie.
one. Good one, caller from Erie. Thanks for being with us today.
I Googled that question.
That's a good one.
Did you Google the answer too, or just the question?
No, that's what you're here for.
Yeah. All right, Lisa.
I think there's a couple ways to look at it. One of the ways for those people who are very in tune with their body is that feeling in your gut or in your shoulders that you get when things are just too full or too tight in your life. So that's one way. Like every once in a while, I'll do a not stellar job of setting up my calendar, and I'll wake up in the morning already with that feeling of dread. And I'll be like, why am I like this? And then I'm like, oh, that's right. I didn't leave time in my calendar for lunch or to breathe. Like, how did that happen? And it's me letting my boundaries go. Is how that happens, in case anyone's wondering. It's not magic. It's totally me. It's me overriding my electronic calendar system, is where that happens for me. But it's that feeling, and you'll get it. Another way to know that you're having a time management challenge is you find yourself saying, as soon as things slow down, I'll get to that. And if you're running your own business, you do not want things to slow down.
Right.
There's another comment online.
There's another comment. These are all good.
This is from Marion.
Marion, my librarian. So Marion Taylor, who we have the commercial on tonight, Simple Solutions for Living, and she's come, and she's actually an organizer. She's helped organize my pantry and closet. So what's her question?
How do you squeeze in time for training and delegating when you work in a business that is time sensitive?
There you go. Because she helps downsize seniors, and she's in a perfect location too, kind of like Janet, that she needs to grow. Her business is going out of control. She needs more staff. And so again, the question is, she needs time to train the staff, but then she's being asked to move seniors tomorrow. That's a good one,
Right.
Lisa.
And so I think one of the ways to train is to record, whether it's, depending on what you're doing, record the steps as you're doing them. So don't think of it as, I need to create the process for someone to follow. How do I find the time to do that? Have whoever it is that you're training document the process as you go along. Because the knowledge is coming from you, but it doesn't have to be put into place by you, if that makes sense. So just train them, train as they work.
Well, that's a great point. My background in manufacturing, that's what apprenticeships are all about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't punch out and train kids how to learn tool and die making. They go through that apprenticeship, and my big thing is I make them take notes. Once they don't take notes and ask me the same question twice, not good.
So they kind of follow you?
So
Is that what you're saying?
But that's what she's saying. It's almost on-the-job training. You're teaching the class
I like that.
as you go. If I'm getting this right.
Yes.
Right.
You are absolutely right.
So it sounds like, which I think it's kind of the old school thinking we have to take this time aside to train, and it's like almost on the job training, or almost like an internship type of thing. I like that.
Yeah. And not 100% of it is going to work out exactly that way, but you're going to be able to get, like, always think of the 80-20 rule. You're going to be able to get 80% of their training done while they're with you. And then the other 20% you need to supplement for whatever variety of reason. And even if you're not in a position such as this one, you still can follow the same process. Or whatever you're doing and you want to delegate out, you just do a screen share while you're working through it. And then you give that screen share to someone else to document the steps in writing. You could talk your way through a process if that's the way you process. If you're a verbal process, just talk it and grab it that way and let someone take it from the words to print if you need to. So it doesn't always have to be that they're physically by your side, but as you're doing a process, you're getting it down for someone else to then implement.
I think what you're hearing, and I'll speak for myself, and I know Marion and Janet personally, and probably other people, and this is great to please chiming in with questions, people on social media, that many of us are in that position of like wanting to take, we're over the cliff and looking at our business saying we want to take it to the next level. We're biting at the bit, we're ready, but how can we replicate ourselves? How can we train somebody else? I had a few years ago thinking, I just needed to find the one person, the one-stop shop person, and that was a big wake-up call for me, thinking one person was going to do it all, which was not. So the guy from Erie is saying him, so he does a lot of it. But to realize, talk about delegating, and what you were saying earlier, Lisa, to kind of recap that piece, that everyone has their certain talents, and that I like being mindful about it, being aware, and realizing the different people and their talents and acknowledging those. But really creating a team approach. There's so much that goes into this, and there's so much, like you said, being a direct communicator. There's so many of these soft skills that are so important to, as Stephen Covey says, sharpen the saw, right?
Right. One of the things I share with my clients, I'm like, when you delegate and it doesn't work well, it's more on you than it is on the person you delegated to.
Yes. And
it's a step you missed somewhere along the way. Whatever it may have been, there's a piece that you missed. And so it's on you. Now, at some point, it becomes on them, but not the first time or two. It's on you.
Right.
And you just have to think, okay, now what? And one of the things I just thought of when Phil asked, I don't know where my brain went, but here's another answer to Phil's question that he Googled about how do you know? Mm-hmm. One of the exercises I have my clients do is we do a 168 exercise, and it's based on figuring out how would you want to budget your time, just like you would budget your money.
Okay.
And how would you budget it? And it has all these areas. And one of the things my clients will also often find is that they will budget more than 168 hours.
Wow.
I have clients typically in the low 200s. And then they recognize, wait a minute, there's a problem. There's 100, I can't make more time. Like, there's a problem here when it comes with my time management.
In a very old school way, when I do seminars, I kind of have them a little bit what you're saying, like a pie chart, and then come up with what the reality is of what their life looks like. And, their family or their spiritual time or their hobby time is like a sliver. And the room just loses its energy when there's the reality of what our life looks like. But it goes back to what you said. This first step is always the awareness. Where does the time go? And then how can we start shifting it? And then what I'm hearing too is we really have to customize what works for each of us, but how to get the support and the accountability to make that happen. There's another question. Lisa, you're hot, mama, today. Let's go.
All right, this is from Jennifer. How do you divide your time between finding new clients and appropriately servicing your current clients?
Oh, Jennifer.
Mm-hmm.
Good
Okay,
question.
good. That's Rocky. So Rocky just started a new business, Family Measures, and a brand new business. And that's another great question, again, for my entrepreneur. Lisa, we're going to bring you to Erie, and we're going to be doing and I'm serious, like a 3-hour workshop on this, because these are all my divas calling in. So good. So do you have some tidbits on that for us?
I wish I could say X% of time needs to be spent on this and X% needs to be spent on that, and be like, go forth and conquer. And what I have found in my own business and with the clients I work with is that try something and then adapt and look. You typically need to do more marketing when you have fewer clients.
Right.
And when you have a lot of clients, you do less marketing. However, you don't ever go to no marketing. And so it's a sliding scale, and it's figuring out what is that correct percentage for you, and then tweaking it as you need to go along. The other way to look at that, because I know that's a non-answer, and I hate to give a non-answer.
No, that's
However, it's reality.
It is.
And a marketing coach may give you a completely different answer. Like, they may be able to give you a formula.
Right.
I went to a presentation once where a woman did. She's like, take the number of clients you want, subtract the number of clients you have,
Right.
and multiply by this, and that's how many hours you need to spend a week marketing in XYZ sector. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. And I worked my numbers out, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm in trouble. Like, I
And
don't have that
sometimes,
many
though-
hours available.
There's another question here.
This one's for me again.
This one's from Phil again.
So it's almost a comment.
Okay.
Basically what Lisa's saying, when I started my tool and die shop, it was just me. And of course, when I got busier, I had to hire somebody. So I know what it's like, even though you might be working out of your house right now. But basically, when I hired my first apprentice and then my first full tool and die maker, I was trying to replicate myself. And sometimes it doesn't work out.
Right.
That's the problem, The trick for me was not to let those people answer the phone. At least when my customers call, they talk to me.
Okay.
But that's just the thing. It's a tough deal once you hire that first employee, it's a different business.
It is. I mean, it's tricky. And back to talking to Rocky and putting on my marketing coaching hat, it's two things. Because on the one hand, I hear a lot of my clients, so I'm going to talk out of two sides of my mouth as well. I mean, on the one hand, I hear a lot of people, they do not take care of their customers because they're always on for I call it the new blood. So they blow those people off. And as the marketing person, I'm like, hello, they've already trusted you. They've already paid. They've opened their wallets. They've wanted to work with you. You've got to take care of those people. Those are important customers. And then on the flip side, I hear people saying they're too scared to pick up the phone, to network, to get the new clients. So then they're so into the old clients. So, the whole thing again is like a balancing act. And what I'm hearing is, Lisa, is we just have to kind of try on different things to see what works best, but to come up with our own formula. Is that what you're?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You have to try it, track it, and then adjust it.
Ooh, say those three nuggets again. I want to write that down.
All of a sudden, I feel like I should trademark that.
Oh, so you just made that up? Try it. Let's do it. Try it.
Try it, track it,
and
then adjust it.
Those are
Right, but I totally want a T word there for the last time.
I know,
so
we need a
those of you
T word.
listening, give me a good T word.
I'm having so much fun with all these other seminar leaders like yourself, Lisa, because that's how we think. We have to think in C's or T's.
Right? I'm like, oh, I need another T there. Because the life of the entrepreneur, and there's a great graphic that comes up on Facebook every couple months where what you think success is, and it's a straight line, and then the life of the entrepreneur where
Yes.
I'm on top of the world, everything's horrible, I'm the best, I'll never get another client, and up and down, up and down, up and down. And so if you're making decisions on how much time to spend marketing after you've signed a new client, you're going to have a completely different viewpoint than if you're making decisions how much time to spend on marketing when the phone hasn't rung for a couple days.
Something else that I knew, just to interrupt you because it was reminding me sometimes little ditties I do, and that's helped me, back to my 8 a.m. at the, sitting at the computer. But Mondays are my marketing day. So I make a commitment that Monday's my day, that I'm digging in, looking at the week ahead, what new seminars do I have coming up, looking at the big picture. And Fridays, so I play with the M, Monday marketing, and then Fridays are my follow-up day. Because what I tell people too with follow-up, they do it haphazardly. And to me, again, as a marketing consultant, it needs to be a serious piece. So when you can come up with something, that's how I track it. But it took me a long time to find that. And when I stay committed to that, those 2 days, I feel accomplished and I get things done. And I'm taking care of both the follow-up and the new blood, as I like to say.
Exactly. And huge shout out to Marion and Michelle. Thank you for Tweak It. I have my 3 T's: try it, track it, and tweak it. Oh,
good. I see. Oh, what's the third one they came up with?
Tweak it. I was wondering.
Tweak it.
I'm watching this feed and everybody's saying tweak it. And I thought they were telling me there was something wrong with the sound.
They were telling us to tweak it. Now, only because I'm so excited for, and Lisa and I, on one of my Monday marketings, we'll be talking about marketing a workshop because there's so much juice here. And because of our time, I want to touch on multitasking because there's so many things about multitasking and thinking we can do it. And I know for me, when I'm opening an email and then I look at Facebook and then I pick up the phone, I start getting tired. I start getting overwhelmed. But tell me your thoughts on that, your tidbits on that, your secret sauce on multitasking.
It's bad.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Did you want me to elaborate bad?
Yes, please.
Totally
please help me so it can sink in how bad it is.
So bad. And it's funny that you brought that up. One of my clients just sent me an article, and she wrote on it. She said, "One more reason to get on your soapbox,"
Mm-hmm.
and this is one of my things. But it's 9 reasons that multitasking is making you dumber.
Ooh,
and it was the science behind all these things. Anyway, short part of the story. When you're multitasking, you're really not doing 2 things at once. Your brain engages in the first thing, it disengages, then it engages in the second thing, then it disengages and re-engages, and back and forth, back and forth. And it's happening so quickly that you think you're doing 2 things at once, but you're not. And so science shows, not to geek out totally on this, but science shows that it takes you 23 minutes and 15 seconds to completely re-engage to where you were before you interrupted yourself. And it'll take you 50% or more longer to complete a task. And so when I do a workshop, and not to spoil it for when I come out to Erie,
Yes.
but when I do a workshop, we go through an exercise where you're single tasking and an exercise where you're multitasking. And it takes people in the room 50 to 100% longer to do it as a multitasking exercise than a single tasking.
That's
And
huge.
so if my word is not enough, Google 9 reasons multitasking is making you dumber.
Making you dumber. And but it's, to me, it's a time waster, but it does kind of kick into sometimes I call it the adrenaline or time wasters. So we're start to recap, and I'm having such a great conversation with you, but I wanted to go back to something you said too, which I thought was very intuitive. To listen to our bodies. I mean, going back to basics when we're feeling tired, or if you're, I would love to have a workshop where we can kind of create more steps, more priorities, delegation, all of these things. So in recapping, if you have any last nugget you want to share with us, Lisa, and then how do we contact you? How can we follow you? And Also, please feel free with NABO that you have some women's seminars coming up. You've got a big expo coming up. So if you want to take a minute and share that as well, that would be great.
Absolutely. So while I'm looking really quickly, as I multitask, I keep, just so you all know what's happening on my end, I keep closing the laptop and then opening it back up again to read the comments and then closing it back up when I talk.
So is that you making those little noises?
Yes, that's probably me making those noises.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that there are questions still in the feed. I recognize that. We will not have time to address those now, but I am happy, so happy. This is my zone of genius to talk with anyone further who would like to talk about this. And so the way that you do that is you go to schedulewithlisa.com and I will gift you 30 minutes of my brain to use any way in which you'd like.
Ooh, that's
yes,
nice.
Yes. So if you want my recipe for, hot toddy, if that's how you choose to use your time, so be it. I would not, I'm a horrible cook. I would not use it that way, but it's totally up to you. You're better off served in time management. However, it's your 30 minutes. So just go to schedulewithlisa.com. Back to NABO, my passion. As you said when you read my bio, Heidi, NABO, National Association of Women Business Owners, I am currently the president for our Cleveland chapter and love it. And so if any women business owners are out there and you're wondering, why would I want to join or what would I want to do, by all means, feel free to contact me, either schedule time to chat, send me an email. We do have a really cool event coming up at the end of November on intentional networking. And then I also get to be a keynote speaker at Be My Own Boss, which they're holding on Small Business Saturday out here in the Cleveland area, which seems to be a really cool concept behind it. And so she's bringing in a lot of people to help people in business. And so it's her first year, but I'm excited because, I get my picture on all the flyers because I get to keynote it. So how much fun is that?
That's great.
But again, any of that, just let me know and I'm happy to share information on that.
Well, you've been an absolute delight. And again, I love following you on social media. I've loved our couple of conversations that we've had. And anybody who's interested in NABO, again, it's a great organization. I've been to the one in Cleveland. I've had the opportunity in Los Angeles to do several speaking engagements for NABO. It's a pristine. So again, if those of you that are listening that are here in Erie, if you want a little diva road trip, we can do that together. So I'm going to say goodbye to you, Lisa. So we have a couple of extra comments before we close out. Thank you so much, and I'll look forward to contacting you on Monday, my Monday marketing day, to create a seminar. Erie people, if you're interested in a seminar with her coming to town, Lisa coming to town, please put that in the comments up below, okay? Thanks so much, Lisa.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right. We'll talk to you later. So that was really fun.
Well, a couple things.
Yes.
So while you guys are finishing up your conversation, I was able to trademark, try it, track it, and tweak it. So I own that now.
Oh,
so,
see how fast he is?
See, so
he's
Lisa,
fast because he's from Erie, PA.
You got to be quick with being from Erie, PA.
I know, that's a
so Lisa, if you're still listening, that is for sale.
Okay,
trademark.
good.
That's good.
All right.
Secondly, for everybody who's listening, just a reminder, Facebook will save this recording. It'll be up on Heidi's page forever. And then also we'll have a audio version out shortly also.
Great. So that to share this if you felt this was helpful. Now I'm very excited about next week, and I'm having so much fun working and collaborating and networking with these other women professionals. So I have Beth Caldwell, who is a bigwig in Pittsburgh, and she is the author of 7 books. She has a wonderful series called Smart Leadership. And I've been following her for years. I'm so impressed with her, and I'm so grateful that she is going to be our expert guest next week. And we're going to talk about the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make. Today was more about time management and just in general. And we're going to talk about communication skills. We're going to talk about confidence. We're going to talk about challenges and saying no, setting boundaries. So it's going to be wonderful, fun, and creative. And again, what I love is Beth is also a leader of the, I want to get this right, of the Pittsburgh Professional Women's Network. So all of us, I love all these women. We run, own, have founded networking groups. We're working together, and that's what we want to bring you along and keep bringing you topics of this nature. So thanks for tuning in. And again, I look forward to reading your comments. Heidi Inspired, stay inspired, and we will see you next week.